What up, Sanbonani? And that means hello in my language. Jim Rohn said, formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. Let me share with you how I learned 7 skills by myself without any formal education. So, the first skill that I ever learned, I had dropped out of university, right? Like I went and I studied mechanical engineering, and as a creative, that was torture for me. I don't recommend that you do that. Not that, mechanical engineering is difficult or anything of that nature. Yeah, it is difficult, but not because of that, right? Like I'm not passionate about that thing. I only went there because my teachers told me that I'm going to make money if I study engineering. And I was like, money, where are you? I want money. But yeah, I went and I studied engineering. First year, second year, I dropped out. And I came back home. So the first skill I learned when I came back home was video editing, right? Went to church. My pastor had a laptop. I was like, man, take this laptop, edit our videos. I was like, okay, cool. I've never done that before, but whatever I got to lose. And so I started with video editing. That's the first skill that I ever taught myself. I saw that I enjoyed that process, right? Like I was like, man, I can have so much fun working, and so that was the beginning of my career and the shift in mindset that I had. That at the time I was not thinking about money, but I was having so much fun, and I realized that I enjoy editing videos. And then from there, while I was editing videos, I would see the mistake that the guys that were shooting were making. But I was like, okay, this angle works better than that one. Okay, cool. Then when I got the opportunity to start shooting, I was already familiar with the mistakes that I needed to avoid. And so that's how shooting or video production came about. That's number 2, right? And so video editing was number 1. The second skill I learned was video production, right? And then after, I understood how to shoot and what sort of angles work best, I learned graphic design because the church needed posters and, I was the only one who was there at the time. Not the only one who was there, but involved in the day-to-day, editing, shooting, and all that sort of stuff. So I started with graphic design, and I made some very ugly posters, guys. If I showed you those posters now, I don't know where some of them are, but that was wicked. That was wickedness. But yeah, the third skill that I learned was graphic design. Started with posters. They were very bad. I would use Windows Paint to crop pictures and paint the background to be green, and then go to a software called Corel Video Studio and remove the background. And I was like, yo, man, I can, at the time I didn't know that there was something called PNG formats for pictures, right? But yeah, that's how I started. But then I went to graphic design, and that's the third skill that I learned. All self-taught, right? And so number 4, the skill that I learned was Cinema 4D and After Effects, and I got introduced to 2D and 3D motion graphics. And that's when I started watching YouTube videos, and I realized that, man, there's plenty of content on this platform, right? And so everything that I learned up to that point was self-taught, and then I discovered YouTube, and that just fast-tracked me even further, right? And started making better videos. I started editing better. I could shoot better. My graphic design improved. My 2D, 3D motion graphics added to how my videos were looking. And then once that was done, we needed a website, right? And then I got introduced to Dreamweaver. And I wish I knew WordPress before that because WordPress is much easier. Yeah, and then, I started using Dreamweaver to create websites using HTML, CSS, and a bit of JavaScript, right? That's how I started. That's the 5th skill that I learned was web development. But then I discovered WordPress, and that was a game changer for me. Used WordPress to learn how to make online stores, right? And so web development progressed in that fashion. It was HTML, CSS, and a bit of JavaScript, and then I went to WordPress. I could make websites way faster. And if you're watching this, I just forget Dreamweaver. Go and start with WordPress. It's much better, much quicker. But yeah, I'm not discouraging you from learning HTML and CSS. They are good skills to have. But if you want to make websites faster, I just recommend WordPress. So yeah, the 5th skill that I learned was web development and e-commerce development, right? Because once I knew how to make websites, I needed to start making online stores. I got a client who gave me an opportunity to create an online store for them, and that's how I started with that. But yeah, we have video editing, video production, graphic design, 2D and 3D motion graphics, and web development. That's the 5th skill. And then in 2018, I went to university to pursue a degree in multimedia, digital media design. And that's when I got introduced to like DSLR cameras, and that's when I got introduced to photography. And so I learned photography, not in classroom per se, right? Ask any university student and they're going to tell you that YouTube is the best teacher, right? I mean, we study in our various institutions, but we get the most help from YouTube. And so that's what I did. Like, YouTube was my friend. But yeah, we started shooting and editing pictures. So the 6th skill, number 6, was photography, right? Because I got exposed to DSLRs and I was like, okay, cool. I really know how to edit and all that sort of stuff. That was just an added bonus for me. But I'm glad that I learned that particular skill set. Right, and number 7, the one that I'm currently pursuing, is digital marketing. There's a lot of things that I still need to learn, but with what I've learned so far, I am quite content, and I can see just how powerful digital marketing is. And what forced me to learn digital marketing was that we started an online store selling furniture, and I was like, man, I need to understand how to sell online if this thing's going to succeed. So I got introduced to digital marketing, and luckily now I could afford to go to a platform like Skillshare, and I have YouTube. I'm never going to teach YouTube, right? Like, you can find anything you want to learn on this platform you're watching me in, which is YouTube. But I just went to Skillshare because there were courses that were better organized, learned Google Analytics, and yeah, that's just how I started with digital marketing. I still have a long way to go in this particular field, but it's something that I've added to my arsenal. So guys, there it is. You can learn anything that you want to learn. For me, I'm a curious person. I'm very curious. Like, I want to know things, so that helps me. If I don't know anything, I search for it. I work on it, diligently, religiously, until I, have a better understanding, and then I move on to the next thing. But the nice thing is, you never forget a skill that you learn. You can use it in your career. Now, when I started, learning the skills and started watching YouTube videos, mind you, at the time, I was not employed, right? I was a volunteer, and I loved it, and I enjoyed every second of it because I enjoyed the process, right? And so what I would do is, I would get like 10 rands. I'm living in South Africa, and I'd buy 1 gig, 10 rands between 12 and 5 a.m. That's the data that I'd use. So you've got no excuse. If you've got a cell phone and you've got a bit of data, you can learn any skill set that you want to learn. Guys, hopefully this brought you value, and hopefully you can see that you can do anything, really. You can learn anything that you want to learn. I've got 7, and I aim on adding to this particular skill sets. Cheers, guys. God willing, I will see you on the next one.